Hello, everybody. Welcome to the round 5 preview. We have a game on Thursday night again, 7:40 p.m. at Adelaide Oval in what will be the first game of Gather Round. It's a quick turnaround. I'm filming this early Tuesday morning. We've got a pretty busy schedule ahead of us and a few themes and issues that still need to be cleared up before we get to Thursday night's game. But the reality is there's a game in 2 days from now. So obviously filming this prior to the decision from the club whether or not to challenge the Harry Mackay suspension. We'll touch on that shortly. Also, we know that Walsh, Kennedy, Akers could be back. So we'll touch on that shortly. But the Crows, the return to Adelaide Oval, the last time we were there, we all remember that late last year. And that was one of the more disappointing performances that we put up towards the back end of last year. It ended up being the first of 4 consecutive losses to finish out the season. There's also the narrative around never having won a game at Adelaide Oval, which is a fascinating stat because I go into this game very confident in what we're able to do. I now have this confidence that we could genuinely beat anybody in the competition on any given day. And I think the Crows are a good test for us because they're a much better team at home. They play with a different energy at home, that's for sure. They seem to surge a lot when they play in front of their home crowd. We know it's going to be a sellout. We know there's going to be a lot of hoo-ha and there's going to be a lot of, hype around the game. For them, they've started the season relatively well. They had a disappointing loss against the Giants. They played pretty well, and they've played relatively well for the majority of the year. I watched them pretty closely against the Fremantle Dockers on the weekend, and my takeout from their performance, take nothing away from it, they were exceptional, but I just thought Fremantle didn't really either have the weapons to hurt them or use the weapons that they have to hurt them. And I just look at that game and I think we have so many more weapons and so many more avenues in which we can unrest the Crows. So I go into the game knowing and expecting them to really bring it to us. And I love that element of it. It's an away game. So again, just get there, get the 4 points by any means and then come home and then we can reassess. It'll be obviously our 5th game, our 2nd game in a row coming off a 6-day break. So their preparation is going to have to be pretty spot on. There's not much room to move. We'll touch on Harry. It might impact our preparation, I guess, for both teams because the Crows also don't know whether or not Harry's definitely going to play. So the way they prepare might be a little hindered. The time that they put into preparing for Harry, maybe for nothing because he might not play, or if they don't prepare for him, or if they expect him to miss and then he plays. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one for both sides. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Tuesday morning, I'm filming this and I say that I don't understand how it's medium impact. I understand it was a little bit of a clumsy hit. The way I saw it, it's a free kick. It's a reprimand. It's, Harry, keep your hands down. Just, don't do that. Just don't be clumsy. And then we move on. I'd be really surprised if he ends up getting suspended for a week for that action. I just don't understand how that can be medium impact. I really don't. Because if we're going to talk about the potential to cause serious injury, well, let's just not play the game. Because every tackle that he's made, everything that happens, every bump that he's made has the potential to hurt someone. So, I don't know. But notwithstanding, it's actually irrelevant. Whether he plays or not, I don't care. It doesn't change my expectations from the team. I think we're in a good groove. I'll tell you what, this week, I read Jacob Wiedering's comments after the game last week. And there was just a different vibe around the way he was speaking. I was really impressed. I was really, really impressed. He has a bit more of a serious demeanor this time around. I like it. The quotes that I was reading were around, he was saying, he says, I'll be honest here, it's a good thing the camera wasn't on me. I was probably as furious as Vossi in that last 5 or 6 minutes. In my 8 years at the club, we've spent a lot of time losing. So at the same time, you've got to flip this into a positive. We've learned a lot of lessons in the past with no points in the back pocket. Love the brutal honesty around that. The way we want to finish the game is with our identity, and that's tough football. They showed us up, so it's something we can go to work on. Now, potentially getting Walsh back, so exciting. Kennedy, Akers, I think this is going to really help with that. But it was this point here that he mentioned, which I really really, really like. It all comes back to the values and identity we're building at the club. In my 8 years, in Cripper's 10 years, Doc is the same, Ed Kerner, we've experienced a fair bit of losing. Sometimes you've got to take a step back and appreciate the position you're in. Winning is pretty handy and you don't want to go back to that losing feeling. The guys we've got now in, Harry, Charlie, Walshy, Cripper, Doc, I can keep reeling off names, are guys that have higher motivations, and that is to win a premiership for this club. However, it's a step-by-step process. Now, in years gone by, the talk of the premiership, the P word, doesn't really show up. So I'm pleased to see that is something that we're even discussing publicly in the media. So I was pleased to see that. His demeanor at the end of last week, I was really pleased to see that. And that's important. We can't let off. Like, yes, I understand we're going at 75 to 80% of our best right now. We're banking wins, all of that. But, you know, as we build into the season, we've got to show more improvement. And I think this is a perfect opportunity. The Crows are flying high. I think they're full of confidence. I think they'll come out with everything that they've got and really have confidence that they can beat us. And I think it's perfect because it's going to force us to play at our best. And if we're playing at our best, I think we're a better side. So there's that. Now, the Crows they rank third in the league for points per game. So this is something that is a contrast to what we're able to do. Our defense is pretty solid. The one thing about the Crows, they leak clearances based off their first 4 games. And this is something where I think we can capitalize. If we win that clearance battle, Tom De Koning, Mark Pittner have a massive job there to give us first use. That gives us the best chance. So, you know, it seems like last week was the forwards type game. The week before was more about the smalls. I'd like this week to be a bit of a unification and everybody gets a piece of the pie and everybody can impact. And it's going to take that type of performance. It's going to take a real spread to get the job done. We've got to be careful not to just rely on our talent to get us over the line, although we are blessed with talent. So there is that. Walshy in, potentially, from what we hear, is exciting. He's going to add a different dynamic to our midfield mix. Bit more pace off the mark. He's an accumulator. I'm expecting there to be a level of rust. I don't expect him to be at his best for this game. I remember when he came back last year, he had a lazy 41. Didn't use the ball as well, but he worked his way into it. So I'm hoping he's good to go. Listen, full credit to the club in the way they've communicated the Sam Walsh injury. Obviously, at the start, there was a bit of frustration around, he's going to be right for preseason or for January. Then he goes under the knife. But ever since then, I think they've communicated it really clearly. Constant updates, nothing but the truth. And I think they've done a pretty good job on the communication front with Sam Walsh. For changes, so if Walsh, Kennedy and Akers are playing, it's interesting. I think Honey would probably come out of the side. I think Lockie O'Brien would probably come out of the side, and whether or not you play him as the sub, I don't know. And then there's the other question, because Walsh is back now. So does Ed Kerner keep his spot? A lot of conversations on the show last night were around maybe he was the one that would make way. I guess we'll see. My inkling would be those 3. Although away, Ed Kerner is a handy player to have in an away game. So I'm not sure exactly what they'll do. But I'd be curious to see your thoughts around team selection. If assuming those are the 3 that are going to come in, what would you do? Now, if Harry doesn't play, we'll figure it out. I don't know if Harry Lemmy would be ready to play straight off the bat. I feel like we're just parking him in the reserves and letting him develop. But at the same time, who knows? It might be an opportunity to get him there, get him in front of a hostile crowd and see what happens. So I watch this space indeed. But we've got a busy few days coming up. We're going to get through potentially an appeal. And then we've got to get through team selection. And then in 2 days, we're there. So for those of you who are going to gather around, let us know in the comments below, what does the routine look like? When are you flying up? I know we've got a pretty big contingent from Melbourne that will be going. So I'm looking forward to seeing how much we can drown out the Adelaide noise, because they'll be loud, they'll be proud. They're up and about. Also, Zach Fisher plays his 100th game. So it's been an interesting journey for sure. He's come to the club as just a real energetic kid. And, now he's an adult and he's hitting that 100 games. And now we're starting to see some of these players from the early part of the story of this rebuild and the early part of the story of this group really mature. They've changed a lot. Their body composition has changed a lot, and they're no longer held in the same esteem as what they were. They're not kids anymore. You don't have as much patience for them, and they have to raise the standard. So I think his last 12 to 18 months has been solid. Had some injury concerns, but congratulations to him for reaching 100 games, and we'll need him to bring something for this game, that's for sure. So that's that. Let me know what you think. It's going to be a busy few days. I'm looking forward to it. Another Thursday night game. So we'll be here. I'll be here in Melbourne watching the game. The watch along will go ahead as per usual. The fan cams will go ahead as per usual. And we'll see what happens. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll go from there. Go Blues.